They don't want you focused. They want you distracted. Picture this. You walk into a crowded room. Everyone is glued to their phones. One person bursts out laughing at a silly TikTok. Another is caught in a heated group chat argument. Someone else is stressing out because their latest post only got 3 likes. The noise of chaos fills the air. Then someone walks in. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't try to grab attention. He simply sits down. And instantly, the atmosphere changes. Why? Because he carries the weapon everyone else has lost. Focus. Have you ever seen yourself in this situation? You pick up your phone just to check for a moment, and suddenly 2 hours vanish without a trace. You feel drained, but can't even recall what you did besides scrolling endlessly. Machiavelli once warned, "Power begins with what you choose to give your attention to." If you hand over your attention to the crowd, you belong to them. But if you reclaim it, if you choose to direct it toward your own path, then they belong to you. The question is, are you living to control or to be controlled? Are you wielding your attention as a weapon, or are you selling it cheap to every single notification? If you've ever felt dragged into the noise, drop a comment right now. My silence builds empires. Your greatest enemy today doesn't carry a sword, doesn't wear armor, doesn't knock on your door. It sits in your pocket. It vibrates. It lights up. And instantly, you bow your head in submission. Notifications, messages, a 10-second clip, a clickbait headline, all designed with one purpose: to steal your attention and pull you away from your own path. Ask yourself, how many times have you picked up your phone just to check one message, and 2 hours later, you're still scrolling? How many times have you told yourself, just 5 minutes, only to realize the entire evening has vanished? How many times have you fallen into that spiral, then sat there in silence asking, what did I just do for the past few hours? That is how the real enemy kills you. Not with violence, not with war, but with dopamine. Every time you react to drama, every time you join a pointless argument, every time you chase a cheap trend, you hand over control of your brain to someone else. You shatter your focus into fragments. One piece for them, one piece for the algorithm, until there's nothing left to build your empire. Machiavelli once warned, "He who seeks to control the people must first control their minds." Today, they don't need chains. They have algorithms, they have envy, they have noise, and you are prey. If you remain so quick to react, do you see the truth? The world doesn't need to destroy you. It only needs to keep you scrolling long enough. A distracted man will never become a dangerous man. So the question is, will you reclaim your focus? Will you turn your phone from a master into a tool? Will you dare to live a day where your attention is no longer sold cheap to meaningless notifications? If you've ever lost hours to the trivial and the empty, swear your vow below this video. I guard my focus like a weapon, because only when your attention becomes expensive will you finally become dangerous. Do you remember the last time you truly disappeared? No stories posted, no replies in the group chat, no showing up at pointless gatherings. And when you returned, people whispered, "He's changed." Some said you'd grown colder. Others said you'd grown distant. But deep down, you knew one thing. You were simply silent. And that silence unsettled them. Why? Because you were no longer under their control. You were no longer predictable. You were no longer easy to read. When they can't figure you out anymore, you become a mystery. And mystery itself is power. Machiavelli once wrote, "A wise man must learn to be alone with his own thoughts, not because solitude is easy, but because power is born in silence." The world celebrates those who always show up, who always put themselves on display, but it fears the ones who vanish, only to return 10 times sharper. Look at real life. That old friend you knew who disappeared for months comes back with a solid physique, calm eyes, a cold confidence. Have you ever witnessed that moment? That feeling of, he's not the same anymore. That is the effect of strategic solitude. Will you dare to disappear? Will you dare to let the world believe you're losing, while in truth you're training, building, preparing quietly for your return? How many times have you wasted energy proving yourself when you could have let results speak louder than words? While they argue, you're reading. While they boast, you're training. While they chase attention, you're gathering strength. And when you reappear, they won't recognize you anymore. If you've ever felt the need for silence to come back stronger, drop your vow below this video. My silence is sacred. Hitserd lace. Sittering. Hitserd lace. Because in a world drowning in noise, the most dangerous act is a strategic disappearance. Think back to the last time someone provoked you. A co-worker slipped a sarcastic jab during a meeting. A stranger left a mocking comment on Facebook. An ex sent a short, cutting message. You're still the same. Huh? What did you do? You reacted instantly. You fired off a long message. You argued back to prove a point. You jumped into the debate, thinking you had won. But a few minutes later, once the heat faded, you realized the truth. You had lost the moment you reacted. Here is the cold truth. The one who reacts first always loses. In the game of power, silence is the weapon that unsettles your opponent most. Picture this. The entire room is tense. Someone provokes you in front of everyone. All eyes wait for your response. But you simply sit there, calm gaze, steady face, no words, no movement. In that moment, who is truly in control? Machiavelli once wrote, "The intelligence of a ruler can be measured by the men he keeps around him." And today, the power of a man is measured by his composure when surrounded by chaos. People don't measure your strength by what you say, but by what you don't need to say. The weak are predictable. They lash out immediately. They must prove themselves. They must explain. Every reaction is another weakness exposed. The Machiavellian man is different. He is silent. He observes. He lets others reveal their foolishness. And when he finally acts, his action is cold, precise, and strategic. So the question for you is this: do you have the patience to remain still when provoked? Do you have the strength to let silence be your weapon instead of letting emotion turn you into a puppet? If you've ever lost everything because of a rash reaction, swear your vow below this video. I am not here to react. I am here to rule. Because in a world addicted to reactions, the one who masters silence is the one everyone fears. In every room, there are always two kinds of people. One who talks endlessly, desperate to prove he's smart, desperate to be recognized, and another who sits quietly, never rushing to interrupt, simply observing. He notices every detail, every glance, every weakness hiding behind people's words. Now tell me who really controls the room. Machiavelli would answer, the one who focuses on himself. Because when you direct your attention inward, you're building leverage others cannot see. Every hour you study, every habit you discipline, every skill you silently sharpen, these are invisible bricks forming a fortress. One day, when you finally step forward, people will realize you've surpassed them, and you won't need to say a single word. Do you see how much focus you've wasted on others? Every time you chase online drama, you lose a piece of your strength. Every time you argue just to be understood, you hand away leverage. How many times have you burned your energy on noise instead of using it to build yourself? Look at reality. Steve Jobs, cast out from Apple, disappeared to rebuild himself, then returned to transform Apple into an empire. Elon Musk doesn't waste words proving himself. He pours all his focus into making Tesla and SpaceX real. These men don't spend energy on arguments because they know results are the only language that carries weight. So the question is, do you want to be the one chasing attention or the one silently accumulating power? Start by cutting out the 3 leeches that drain your energy: drama, junk news, and empty praise. Replace them with the 3 pillars of power: learning, health, and skill. Each day you place another brick. You raise your value, piece by piece. And when your value becomes something no one can buy, no one can control you, hold the leverage. If you are silently building strength in the shadows, declare your vow below this video. My focus is my throne. Because in the game of power, the talkers chase attention, but the focused ones build leverage. And in the end, leverage decides who wins. There is one of the most dangerous chains of our time. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hold a knife to your throat, but it binds millions of people every single day. It is the need to be seen. Have you ever posted a picture, then kept opening your phone just to check how many likes it got? Have you ever written a status, then felt anxious because no one left a comment? And when you were seen but left without a reply, your heart raced, your mood collapsed. Do you realize what happened in that moment? You handed control of your emotions to someone else. That is not power. That is slavery. Machiavelli would tell you, validation is a leash, a shiny chain disguised with emojis, compliments, and digital applause. It doesn't choke you immediately. It lulls you to sleep. It makes you believe you're winning when in truth, you're only being led. The modern world doesn't need violence to control you. It only needs to give you just enough attention for you to become addicted. And once you're addicted, you can be controlled at any time. Ask yourself, why do you share your plans before you execute them? Why do you celebrate too early before you have real results? Because you need to be seen. But that need makes you weak. The Machiavellian man is different. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't need to prove himself. He lets results speak. He works in silence, disappears in the dark, and when he appears, his presence answers everything. So I ask you, will you dare to live 30 days without showing off a single thing? Will you dare to finish a goal without telling anyone? Will you dare to let silence be the proof of your strength? If your answer is yes, swear your vow below this video. I validate myself through execution. Because true power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from becoming someone impossible to ignore, even when you never open your mouth. Imagine two lives. One man wakes up at 11 a.m. The first thing he does is grab his phone, scroll mindlessly until half the day is gone. Another man wakes up at 5 a.m., writes down his plan, trains his body, and starts working before the world is even awake. Who do you think will be more formidable after 5 years? Machiavelli never spoke of a magical morning routine. He spoke of control. Control of oneself, control of habits, and from that, control over others. Because if you cannot control your own time, you have already become a tool in someone else's hands. Discipline is the fortress. It's not flashy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't need to be shown off. But every hour you master yourself, you are placing another brick in the wall that shields you from chaos. Be honest. How many times have you promised to go to the gym only to quit after a week? How many times have you decided to read only to stop after 10 pages and reach for your phone? How many times have you betrayed yourself simply because you were waiting for inspiration? The weak need motivation to start. The strong live by systems because they understand. Motivation is for spectators. Systems are for kings. So where is your system? Start with 3 iron rules. Sleep and wake up at the same time, no compromise. Train your body at least 30 minutes daily, not for looks, but because weakness is a burden. Dedicate at least 1 uninterrupted hour of deep work, focused solely on building your value. Do you have the discipline to turn an ordinary day into a brick in your fortress of power? Do you have the coldness to choose discipline over fleeting inspiration? If your answer is yes, declare your vow below this video. I don't follow motivation. I follow a code. Because once discipline becomes your identity, no force in this world can shake you. And that is true power. Do you remember the last time you lost your composure? Someone insulted you in front of a crowd, a venomous comment on social media cut through your mood, or just a short text from your ex brief, yet enough to make your heart race. And you reacted instantly. You argued back, you explained, you vented your anger, but minutes later, you realized the truth. You had just revealed your greatest weakness. Here is the cold truth. The most dangerous man is never the one who speaks the most. It is the one who doesn't react. He sits still. No frown, no forced smile, no justification, just quiet observation. And it is that very stillness that unsettles the entire room. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are driven by two things, love and fear. But it is safer to be feared than loved. Love expects your softness. Fear holds you within its boundaries. And composure is the doorway through which fear begins." Do you see it now? Every time you explode, someone else wins. They provoke you not because they care, but to test whether they still control you. Every reaction you give is proof that they do. So, what's the solution? When emotions rise, keep your face motionless. Make them guess. When you feel the urge to strike back, wait 10 seconds in silence, then decide. Speak and act only when it serves your strategy. The weak crave to be understood. The strong do not. The weak burn energy in arguments. The strong store energy in silence. So the question is, will you stay silent when insulted? Do you have the strength to turn composure into something far more frightening than threats? If you've ever learned to hold back your reaction to keep your power, leave your vow below this video. Detachment is my power. Because in a world addicted to emotion, the one who cannot be read is the one to fear most. Most people fear solitude. When the room is silent, they panic and grab their phone. When no one texts them, they feel invisible. When no one pays attention, they believe they have no value. But that is only an illusion. What they truly fear is facing themselves. Machiavelli would tell you, solitude is not punishment, it is refinement. Imagine disappearing for 90 days. No posts on social media, no meaningless debates, no showing off small achievements. For 90 days, you read, you write, you train, you build your own system, and then you return. When people see you again, they whisper, "He's changed." They cannot understand, they cannot predict, they cannot control. Have you ever seen a friend like that? Someone who vanished for a time, then came back with sharper eyes, a stronger body, and the silence of a man who knows what he wants. Have you ever been struck by the power of such a disappearance? In the dark, the weak collapse, but the strong are reborn. In silence, the fake layers peel away, and hollow relationships fall apart. What remains is only you, your truest essence, and the chance to forge it into a weapon. So the question is, will you dare to choose solitude? Will you dare to let the world think you're fading, when in reality, you are sharpening? Will you dare to let them mock your silence, so that when you return, your very gaze silences them? If you are ready to disappear and come back as someone unrecognizable, swear your vow below this video. I disappear to evolve. I return unrecognizable. Because in a world that lives on noise, the one who wields solitude as strategy is the one who truly becomes dangerous. Look back at the journey you've just taken. You learned how to reclaim your focus, break free from the chains of notifications and cheap dopamine. You dared to disappear in silence. You dared to sit alone in the dark and train. You learned not to react. You learned to master your emotions, to turn composure into a weapon that makes others afraid. You understood that discipline is the fortress, and solitude is where rebirth happens. And all of it leads to the final step: evolution. Evolution is not just changing a few habits. Evolution is the death of the old version of you. The one who lived for validation, the one who feared abandonment, the one who always needed to prove himself. That man is dead. In silence, you buried him. And in his place, a new being has been forged, colder, sharper, untouchable. Have you ever witnessed this? Someone you once knew disappears. And when they return, you can no longer recognize them. They don't need to brag. They don't need to speak much. Their mere presence creates distance, and you understand, they have evolved. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men must either be caressed or annihilated." In today's world, that means either you let the world control you, or you annihilate every chain that once held you back. There is no middle path. You once chased recognition. Now, you seek precision. You once begged for peace. Now, you are the storm. You once craved to be seen. Now, you don't need to be seen. And yet, you cannot be ignored. So here is the final question. Will you let the old version of yourself die so that you may evolve into someone untouchable? If you've made it this far, leave your final vow. I am sovereign, not for likes, not for validation, but to remind yourself, from this moment, you no longer belong to the chaos. You stand outside of it. You command it. You rise above it. And remember this, true power is never loud. It does not need applause. It does not need the spotlight. It requires only one thing, to evolve so far that no one can ever control you again.